Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Coyle. I manage the solution architects for D&H, and we're going to talk today about our managed services growth playbook specifically for MSPs. Many of you have already started down that recurring revenue model and have already started to build out managed services. It can be a very daunting task. It can be very expensive. There's lots of tools, people that you have to hire, managing vacations, the integration of all the tools, and that's before you even get to selling it or doing reports, invoicing, all those things that are required. So we've built a set of services here at D&H to help you with that process, to either augment what you're already doing or to take place of what you're trying to build and maybe struggling with. So we've done it in a very dynamic kind of building block model, and we'll kind of walk through those different service categories so you can see how they fit together and how they might be applicable to what you're doing. The nice thing about this is that it's done in such a way that you don't have to do this for all of your customers. There may be a specific customer that has some unique needs that might be outside your current skill set or coverage abilities that you may need to augment what you're doing. So this gives you the ability to really kind of dynamically add whatever is necessary for your specific customers. So we've done this as a starting point from just doing basic Microsoft support, which is what we call CSP and Azure support, all the way through your managed services, managed security services, SOC, NOC, all that good stuff. All the pricing that we've put together is on a per user or per device, depending on which service is being consumed. And we've built this to specifically be for our channel. So this is not something that we distribute out to end clients. This is something that we package and co-brand with you as an organization to deliver on your behalf to your end customers. The MSP services start off with your traditional help desk. All of our services are 24/7. They're all US based. And it starts, we provide all the tools that are necessary to do that as well. The PSA for doing all the ticket management, for doing the contract management, for doing all the notifications, the remote endpoint management, RMM tools that we use for accessing the servers, the PCs, the laptops, the mobile devices, so that we have visibility into what's going on. And those can also be extended out to servers, to network devices, switches, firewalls, routers, access points, and so on. Those MSP services also cover things like Microsoft 365 licensing, Azure support from an operational infrastructure support, as kind of that bundle there. We move up from those MSP services into our MSSP services, managed security services, which gets really into the security element of it, the cybersecurity, doing the event management through SIEM. We use Sentinel for doing that, as well as some other tools, getting into email protection, security awareness training, SOC services. If you have a regulated industry that needs to have more detailed, concentrated focus on security and events, we can provide that with our MDR services. As I said, everything is US based, and we have very specific severity based SLAs that you can use to really demonstrate that you have visibility into what's going on and can prioritize the tickets and the issues that come in proactively and reactively. We've broken the service catalog into a couple different categories. I'll go over those on this slide and the next one. But the starting Lego, if you will, building block would be your CSP and Azure Premium services. So as someone purchasing Microsoft services licensing from D&H, by default, you get basic support. And that's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And there really aren't any SLAs associated with that, but we will help with helping somebody figure out a bulletin word, how to connect their Outlook, how to implement a signature, how to change your password in Office 365, all those kinds of things. But those tickets can only be generated by you, the partner. We don't, and on the basic support, the end users can't make direct calls to us for support. We expect that you manage that process first. However, If that's something you wanted to extend to give your end users access to call us directly, then you can move into our CSP and Azure Premium services. Those allow 24/7 support, again, US based, and there are SLAs with those response times based on the severity and priority of the tickets using the ITIL model. Those are priced per user, per seat for the 365 licensing, or based on consumption of Azure, depending on which service you're looking for. The next is what we call our Help Desk as a Service, or Help Desk as a Service Plus. And that is really where it extends just the support of Microsoft model into the end user desktop support. So the Help Desk as a Service is not going to get into servers, switches, routers, access points, firewalls, VPNs, those things, but they will do everything that's necessary for that end user and their workstation. So if they're having issues with Adobe, if they can't connect to a printer, if they're having issues logging into their VPN from a user side, not necessarily the infrastructure side. Any of the Microsoft support from CSP Premium is included in that as well. So it helps them basically whatever that person needs to do to get their job done. We will do some escalations and some third-party application management on that for kind of standard off-the-shelf applications. If it is a business-specific application that is unique to their industry or unique to their specific company, we would escalate those to you as the organization to make sure that you could help escalate those and triage those if that ended up being the case. If it ended up being something that needed to take place, be repaired, worked on any of the infrastructure components, those would also be escalated to you to manage those as appropriate. The nice thing about this service is that it's really good for organizations that have, a couple really good high-end infrastructure engineer, architect level folks, your high dollar employees, and you don't want them to get stuck changing passwords and helping somebody connect to a printer, which we found really takes up about 85 to 95% of the tickets that come in from the end users are those kind of end user desktop support type issues. And this allows you to offload that to our team to take care of those and free up your higher value, higher dollar employees to be focused on more infrastructure project things that help your business grow and build those relationships with your customers. Moving from there, we move to our managed desktop services. That really is your MSP in a box, if you will. So we're taking care of full desktop support through engineering, full life cycle of the endpoint management, patching, making sure that we're watching all the other security applications, their antivirus, their spam filtering, the web backups, email backups, all those things that are necessary to keep the desktops running in what would be a traditional MSP model. In that situation, we're doing everything kind of soup to nuts for those organizations. We have access to core infrastructure. We'll make changes in Active Directory. We know how to add a user to a VPN security group, those kinds of things. The managed desktop services also allows for us to do more proactive monitoring, patching, help set up policies like maybe stronger password policies or restrict applications that can be downloaded and installed. Those kinds of things really kind of tighten up the visibility into what's going on there. Skipping around a little bit, the one right below that, the server backup and SQL and network services, that is the infrastructure equivalent of the managed desktop services. So again, full MSP services, but specific to servers, backups, SQL, network, Azure infrastructure in terms of the actual servers themselves, not just the environment, which would be a difference from the Azure Premium. Same things, we'll do patching, the security updates, the alerting, and we're collecting log files. We're doing backups of configurations. Those things are necessary for any of those infrastructure components. The nice thing about those two products, the managed desktop services and the managed server and network services, is that you don't need to do all of them. If you have a group that's already doing your managed desktops and you're really comfortable with that, but they're not as talented or as skilled, or they don't have the tools to do the managed server and network side, then we can take that component off your plate as well. So it still allows you to kind of mix and match based on what you need and what your end users need. Beyond that, we start moving into those security things. So the cloud identity and cybersecurity tools and services get into really more of that security profile and make sure that posture is appropriate for your organizations that you're supporting. So working on MFA, working on all of your security policies, your update policies, all of your device management policies, and doing event logging, correlating that with different events that are happening between your networks, your servers, your desktops, so we can look for any threats that may be out there, any malicious activity that might be moving laterally or horizontally through your infrastructure. Then we'll get into backups and email protection, those things, as kind of rounding out that security elements. Again, those security pieces do not require managed desktop and managed server or network services. Those can be purchased individually. So again, if you have an organization where you're doing all your traditional MSP server desktop work, but you haven't built out a NOC or a SOC, you haven't been able to invest in some of the higher end security services, this is a great thing that you can bolt on to add to your existing service offering. Again, kind of going through some of the detail, we talked about this already. The key here to look at is the ability to stack these as necessary. All of the services after CSP, your help desk as a service, moving all the way up, all include the CSP and Azure Premium support, depending on what you're doing. Your managed desktop, your help desk as a service includes the CSP, the Office 365 applications. Your managed server, managed network, managed SQL, and Azure backups all include the Azure Premium services as well. So we're taking a look at the infrastructure as a whole. We're taking a look at the environment. And then as we get into some of those other services, we're actually getting into the operating systems, the configurations, the performance, so that we can make sure that we have a very holistic view on what's going on with your infrastructure. We built a chart that kind of goes through what's included, what's not included. Some key things I do want to point out here is that they all include reactive support. So if there's an issue, there's a phone number you can call, there's chat you can use, there's a web form you can submit, you can send an email, and we'll certainly take care of all those things on a 24/7 basis. Several of the services as you move up the chain also include proactive services where we're alerting, we're logging, we're tracking. When we see things that look odd, we'll take care of them. When there's patches that need to be done, we'll take care of that. Firmware upgrades, those kinds of things. We will also make sure that we take care of all the vendor escalations, and they all include reporting and root cause analysis so that you can have the information that you can take back to your customers to say that you are doing these things. This is what's happening at 2 o'clock on a Saturday morning while they're asleep. So they have evidence and correlation that you have done your job, that you're taking care of their infrastructure, and they can go about their day and know that everything's being taken care of. The endpoint security infrastructure features similar things. You'll see the green dots kind of go diagonally from top to bottom as we go through these. The important thing to note is that we're still going to take care of all the patching, all the management of the operating systems. We're going to take care of all of the monitoring for alerts, for activities, for performance statistics, and depending on which devices are being managed, we'll take care of the firmware, the configuration backups, and any specific alerting or monitoring that might be required for those specific devices in the infrastructure. We've broken this down into, as I said, the ability to price it per user or per device. On the Microsoft 365 and Azure support, these are the premium levels that we talked about, the 24/7 support. The CSP premium allows you to provide that 24/7 coverage for Microsoft end user applications. So Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, whatever. The advanced applications that right below that are for your more advanced applications like Power BI or Intune and Autopilot. Some of those other things that are more advanced and have more intense configurations and management requirements. They're split into two categories, standard and elite. Standard is where you are the one taking the initial calls, and then you're deciding, hey, this is outside our scope and escalating it to us, versus elite, which gives the end users direct access to contact us and work directly with them for those particular issues. Azure Premium Infrastructure support, again, this is for the environment. So Azure Premium support here is making sure that we're watching the environment as a whole. Are the services available? Is the infrastructure accessible? Is SQL running? We're not going to get into the actual operating system level. We're not going to work in the virtual desktop user administration, but we will make sure that the infrastructure is up and running and functioning and accessible. And we've priced that based on consumption tiers. Those are based on the monthly consumption for that particular Azure tenant. For our help desk as a service, again, this is the level 1 help desk, desktop support only. We have the reactive, which does not do any of the proactive patching and alerting. This is kind of your bare bones. I just need somebody to be available to take calls. This is really good if you have a warehouse or a restaurant or something like that, where there might be multiple people using the same desktop over different shifts. Not a whole lot of things going on that workstation. So you're not as worried about the proactive support, but you need someone that they can call when there is an issue to remote in and take care of it. There's still an agent loaded on the machines in that situation, but it's not doing any of the patching or proactive monitoring that we would do in the next tier, which is the help desk as a service plus. And that's where we use that agent to monitor, to alert, to do patching, to do updates, to automatically restart services, those types of things to keep the desktops running. And then as we mentioned, we move down the life cycle from there to managed desktop services, cloud identity services, et cetera. The managed desktop services, you'll notice that there is a remote user and a full lifecycle endpoint. We've split those up to help us cover virtual desktop users, to cover people that are remoting into workstations at an office. They may be using their own personal machines. It limits the amount of things we will be doing on the workstation because of the type of environment that it is. And obviously that allows us to do it for a lower price. And then we go into all of our managed server and network services. I do want to point out that the managed network services specifically and the access points, the wireless controllers and such, we've been able to split those up to a little more granular level. I'm not really worried so much about which vendor it is, so much as the complexity of the configuration. So for instance, you'll see the managed network switch, we have a low end and a high end. That's not in reference to the model or the make, that's in reference to the configuration. If it's a 48 port switch with 2 VLANs and a management IP address, that could be a Cisco Catalyst, but we would still consider that a low end configuration versus a switch that might have ACLs, might have multiple VLANs, might be doing stacking, high availability, those types of things that would get into more of a high-end configuration. And the same with the firewalls. If the firewall is doing a single internet connection and just basic NATing and security protections kind of out of the box, then that would be a low-end configuration versus high-end. We're doing high availability, multiple internet connections, BGP, those things get into more of the higher configurations. And then the access points we've split between your controller-based and your non-controller-based. So we'll cover the controller with the first 5 access points as that first line item there. And then you can add additional APs to that controller moving forward. And then we do that in chunks of 5. So every 5 access points you add to the controller would be in the US, the $12.50 versus standalone access points that are not controller-based would be priced per access point. A couple key things for engagement structure. We do list all the named users. So all the people will sync with Entra ID to get the user list of current employee users to sync with our user list, so we know when they call in who has permission to create a ticket. And we track that per month, and we'll adjust usage and billing up or down based on what that user list is. All these are paid per month. The user-based applications do require a 5 user minimum, and then we price per device for the device-based services, and those are also 5 device minimum for the managed desktop services. As far as the other devices, servers, databases, firewalls, networking devices, those are done per asset, per device, per month. And then, as I mentioned, the Azure Premium is billed based on what your monthly consumption is. and that can scale up and down as well. They do require a 12-month minimum term, and those are purchased through our cloud marketplace. We do not charge for onboarding. It's generally about a 4-week process to go through the onboarding for these services, depending on complexity and, quite frankly, the availability of the end user. In some cases, that it might go to 6 or 8 weeks on some more complex, especially if they're larger infrastructure components. We want to make sure that we're doing it very methodically. But for the most part, we can onboard most of the tenants in a 4-week model. So next steps are to figure out where these services fit for you and your particular organizations. As I said, you don't have to do all of them. You don't have to do all of the desktop supports. You can pick and choose the ones that really fit the best with your model and still allow your current employees or current infrastructure to stay in place and kind of fill in those gaps where we feel that they are either a skill set, a capacity, a particular technology that maybe you don't have access to. So if you have questions about what would fit for what you're doing, what would fit for a particular customer engagement, certainly can let us know, and we can help walk through what your requirements are and help you pick and choose which services may be the most beneficial. We do, and then we can worry about getting those ordered and doing onboarding and launching and moving from there. So thank you to all of our vendors, Acer, Asus, Dell, Microsoft, and Lenovo for helping sponsor this. And we look forward to talking with you.